Welcome Giridhar Sanjeevi. Thank you for doing this. I want to be respectful of your time and harness this rich experience you have on the subject you and me both are very passionate about, corporate governance, particularly in the context of related party transactions.
Thanks, Bhupendra.
Giri, you have particularly seen startup in your recent avatars, right? But let's shift our focus back on large listed companies who have grown over the years. But at times, there are multiple departments who have to meet multiple regulatory challenges.
Yeah.
You have Income Tax Act at one side, which everyone looks at the same transaction. It's just this transaction happens to be between two related parties, but this is still a very good commercial transaction.
Yeah.
Now, for income tax, the regulatory requirement is different. Within income tax, you have a transfer pricing laws, which are cross-border transactions and domestic at times. You have GST laws, you have FEMA and other laws, right? Sometimes RBI also wants to have a look at the arm's length standard.
Yeah.
So, can you comment based on your past experience, is harmonization a key requirement? Does it come naturally to companies? A, and B, should government also, regulators also should come up and make it easy for the companies, because if your requirements are different, companies might put little different answers which may not be harmonized.
No, you're right. I think you need both sides of the equation. I think number one is that companies need to believe that they need to do the right thing. Actually, I think it starts with that. And when you talk of different departments, I think one of the things I've talked about governance is that governance is everybody's job. While we spoke about CEO, CFO, and board a little earlier, I think governance is everybody's job. So which means that when people in different departments look at transactions, I think they need to think the right way actually, and therefore they need guidance on that. So I think it's very important, and I have seen, you're right, absolutely, that a view taken in income tax can be completely different from the view taken in a different act actually, and that in the long run is not sustainable. I mean, these can be very tactical, and I think and that is not definitely recommended. But equally, I think there are challenges in regulation, as you rightly point out, where different departments also look the different tax regulations or different regulations look at points of view which are different. So there is a need to harmonize even at the legislative level. But I think companies should approach from the perspective of what is in their control actually, and hence do the right thing is what I would say actually. Yeah.
Great answer, and I would agree. Giri, again trying to deep into your vast experience, deep experience, what are the few top things which comes to your mind which a company, either a startup or a large one, should do to make sure that achieve the gold standard? Is digitization the only way, or it has to be done with the larger ecosystem to be put in place?
Yeah.
Just want to get your thoughts around it.
Yeah, I think companies should do what it takes to make sure that they have, I think, fit for purpose is important actually. I think while you use the word gold standard, sometimes gold standard to me may be different from gold standard to you. So hence I think sometimes I'm also being realistic in favor of companies, saying that we don't need to necessarily have an idealistic standard actually, which means that you need to make sure what is right for your business and make sure it's implemented. That's number one. Number two, I think clearly there is a focus in terms of processes actually. Ultimately, a good governance does not work if you do not have processes and the engagement around those processes actually. So companies need to be able to invest on processes actually. Now I think the beauty of the new technology world is that what used to take a long time to be able to understand what's happening, you can actually through technology know on a real-time basis, and there is clearly merit in using those technologies in terms of doing it actually. Of course, the cost of implementing such technology also has to be kept in mind actually. So some things where SEBI says you need to report within 12 hours of any notice coming, of say a GST notice, then you need to have a process which ensures that you get information. If you're operating in a large company which has got operations all over India, a GST notice in Assam may take 3 days before it reaches head office actually, and there you definitely need processes to ensure that you know what is happening. Equally here, to the early point on regulation doesn't have today a limit which requires you to report, which means even a 500 rupee GST notice unfortunately needs to be reported because they have not specified limits around it. So regulation also needs to walk the path in terms of making it easier for companies to comply. So therefore processes are important, oversight is important, and use of technology which is kind of fit for purpose is what I would say. I think the good news in today's technology world is that you don't need some massive ERPs to do that. I think there are apps, there are simple technology tools which are off the shelf, which can sit on top of any system that you have, which can provide you that insight actually. And the other thing about technology today is that it's not just about historical analysis, there's also a bit about predictive analysis actually, because sometimes the predictive analysis will help you identify trends which could potentially lead to a problem in the future actually. And so predictive analysis tools can also be used actually. Ultimately I think companies need to, the way I look at technology is that companies need to use technology to ensure that they are not focusing so much in terms of collecting the data, but spending more time in understanding what the data tells actually, so that it's more about analytics, it's about insights, it's about then taking actions around it actually. Yeah.
No, and I think retrieving relevant data, which is actionable, which gives you actionable insights, is critical, and it's also equally critical that you make it available to the right person for a decision making.
Correct.
And SEBI requires prior approvals, so the speed is what a digitization can bring, which nobody else can bring. Right. Thank you so much, Giri. This has been so insightful.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot and look forward for more.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.